If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We are live from Radio Row. It is Super Bowl XLIX. That's 49 in the Roman numerals. Luke Jones joining us here, as always, and our first segment with Chris Pika of the week, our dear friend here. And how are you, man? You're wearing purple. I mean, you're wearing a 2-year-old shirt there.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's repping Baltimore and the Ravens, and purple is one of the dominant colors of this Super Bowl as well for the Phoenix folks.
Yeah, there's a lot of colors going on here, like sand colors, sunset colors.
Yeah, a lot of. If you're a fan of the old Phoenix Suns, it's basically that same color palette. You know, orange, purple, sand. You know, desert, and sky colors. That's what they got here.
Yeah, a little Charles Barkley over Dan Marley's. Luke, you're against the logo, right? This silver trophy thing. Like, it's the same logo every year now.
Right, it's the same logo other than the stadium in the background. And the league wanted that. I understand they wanted to brand the Super Bowl, but I always liked it. It always had you always had whenever the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, it had more of the New Orleans flavor to the logo. Well, I mean, it's not like a major beef. Just
I like the individual logos that we did. And one of the stories behind that was at 36 after 9/11, the original New Orleans logo was sort of the gated, the New Orleans sort of, look that they did. It looked like a Bourbon Street sign.
Looking thing.
Yeah, well, it was more like a Bourbon Street sign, and it was really neat that they did. And then after 9/11, the league
they went red, white, blue.
They had to scrap it, and there's a Superman sort of script, with the United States and the red, white, and blue, and they did that on the fly in 2 months. Got that completely changed. All the merchandise changed. Everything.
But the logo 2 years ago looks like the logo last year.
Correct.
I liked it better when they had different logos. For me.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a minor beef, but it just makes it a little more generic looking.
And the other thing they've done too is now, if you notice, they've done a secondary logo with Phoenix and the thing, and more sort of that the old way of doing
logo.
The local logo is now what we used to remember as the game logo for years.
But that is a good looking shirt, man. Anything with purple on it, I'm all about. All right, so you've been here a couple, 3-4 days, and you have trailed along the Patriots coming in, the Seahawks coming in, getting it ready as you do every year. Of course, Chris Pika, one of our WNST insiders with the league. And how many Super Bowls for you?
13.
13, okay. I'm 20-something. I got to add it up. I haven't figured it out. This downtown Phoenix has grown up. Let's start with that. But I don't know that the league's ever had sort of a scandal like this leading into the game. You scoff at scandal, but certainly from a media perspective, you can say the media's jumped all over this. Some of the Boston people, some people think it's been overkill. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels like cheating to me, and I think cheating should never be pushed to the side.
Well,
how I feel about it.
Well, when you're talking about inflation in footballs, let's talk about the media. There's a lot of hot air. And there's a lot of dead space that has to be filled.
Very fair.
There's a lot of dead space that has to be filled with air. And that's what the last week has been with all the Deflategate or whatever you want to call it. And I think everyone's anxious to start talking football once the teams arrive and, talking about the game. It just happened that the story hits, there's no game, and you got 7 days of stuff to talk about, and that was basically it. So we'll see what happens from there. But it'll be nice to get back to football starting today once both teams are on site.
Nothing like doing a segment where some guy's got a loading dock noise thing. Dude, do that on Saturday. I'm doing radio over here. What the hell's going on here? We're live at Super Bowl 49. Luke and Chris are here, and we're trying to make heads or tails of all this. All right, so Patriots land on Monday. Seahawks land on Sunday. Seahawks came into this first. They're doing the media day inside the basketball rink. Where did they do it last year in New York?
They did it at the Prudential Center. Same thing. They did it inside, but it was a hockey rink set up 200 by 85, which was really tight. And here
we couldn't remember.
I knew it wasn't at the stadium, being outside in New York
second year
or northern New Jersey.
Not done that. So the only difference is the basketball arena at U.S. Airways, they can push stands back and they'll have a little bit more room than they had trying to do it inside basically a hockey rink a year ago in New Jersey.
Well, I mean, I guess why wouldn't you do it in the stadium? I don't understand that part.
Well, I think some of it's security reasons. Some of it is the fact that you had to offload everything from the Pro Bowl. There were some things that were built for the Pro Bowl stands-wise that they have to remove that won't be there for the game on Sunday. So a lot of that is just taking pieces and parts out. So I think they need time to be able to do that and resecure the stadium. And also the field goes back outside. It rolls out back into the sunshine. They'll recondition the field, repaint it, and that takes some time. So it's basically more of a stadium reason more than anything else.
So there's no field in there right this minute, probably.
Probably not. They probably moved it outside to begin the prep.
That's wacky,
for this
right?
week.
I mean, I've never.
It's just on 2 rails, and the thing just slowly slides out back into the sunshine.
I've seen the videos of it the last time
it's
that they
really
played
neat.
here.
I
still have never been in that building. Full disclosure, my wife's been to every stadium, and I haven't because she went to the Super Bowl, the David Tyree Super Bowl. She went with her sister. I still have never set foot in the stadium in Glendale. I will on Sunday.
Right.
My wife's been bugging me for 12 years. Take me to a Pro Bowl. Take me to a Pro Bowl. I brought her out, and she didn't want to go to the game last night.
I've only not been to 2 stadiums.
Probably because it's not in Hawaii.
2 stadiums still on my list.
Now she wants the microphone. Now you want to get on the radio. What's that?
If it's not in Hawaii, I don't want to go.
All right, well.
That's fair. I think the only 2 I have not been to, the new San Francisco Stadium, and one of the places you go to every year is Cleveland. That's the only 2 stadiums in the league I have not been to.
You're missing Cleveland. Oh, joy of joys, you know. Well, Chris Pike is joining us here. Luke Jones as well. We are getting ready for Super Bowl 49 here in Phoenix. We'll be here all week talking about some relevant things, certainly some guests and celebrities and hot shots coming by. 13 years into this thing, it gets bigger every single year. They have a boulevard out in front. I think everybody that went down to New Orleans can be familiar with how everything's so contained in New Orleans, and then they get places like this where everything's kind of far-flung and moved out. But the locals here on Sunday descended upon downtown Phoenix, the Pro Bowl being here, and I said this to Luke. I told Luke, don't expect much when you get in the week before in Phoenix because there's not a lot going on.
Right.
And then I forgot the Pro Bowl was here. It was a very, very active Sunday here a week before the game, and tons of kids. I mean, they have like flag football championships being played here on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I think the local community really came out in a way that I want to say unprecedented to some degree. And I think the Pro Bowl, as much as we make fun of it, and it was in Hawaii, and it's hard to get players to play in, and the game's a little bit of a joke. We don't even know what team Harbaugh coached. Did he coach Team Irvin or Team Carter? I don't even know.
It was Team Carter because Team Irvin, he had the Cowboys. He had
Dude,
Jason
you might be the
Garrett.
only guy that knows. Like, literally. I don't think anybody – were they the green team or the gray
It's
team?
like I can tell you right now, Elvis Dumerville had 2 sacks, represented the Ravens well.
That's right.
What team he played for?
And the
John Harbaugh looked like a big lemon, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a highlighter. I see him walking out the locker room on the way to the field in pregame. I'm going, oh my God, those shirts are bright.
Those are uniforms that only the University of Oregon could be proud of.
Oh, that's very Oregon yellow. I mean those things, man. You can see those guys coming from a mile away.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how Oregon wore the black and white uniforms for the championship. I mean,
They were actually. I was at that game. They were actually like slate green. I mean, it was like deep green but ice.
I got HGTV, and where I was, it was gray.
It was close.
Looked gray to me.
Yeah. But for Oregon to wear something like that, as far as uniforms, and the only other time the uniforms are really bad is the Under Armour hosts the high school, like a high school all-star game that they do down in St. Pete, and those uniforms are about as garish as you possibly can get. I mean, the Buccaneers are probably the closest now in the modern-day NFL to those types of uniforms, and Seattle. It was
they started it with the Nike transition and everything.
Yes.
So
Chris Pike joining us here, Super Bowl 49, Luke Jones, and I guess all the Super Bowls we've done, we've been doing this thing together. I think this game might be as good of a game to discuss once all the Deflategate goes away. Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, who's going to stop Gronkowski? How are they going to stop Marshawn Lynch? What's the line right now? Early week line? Is there a favorite? Is someone a point and a half
it's
favorite?
close. Let me
I mean, in my mind, this is a pick'em game. I don't think I need
that's
points
the way it
either
started.
way.
That's the way it started last week as a pick'em.
But I think once we get later in the week, we really will be discussing a fantastic football game.
I think so. I mean, you've got, Seattle was very fortunate to get here. By all accounts, it should have been Green Bay. For 55 minutes, it was Green Bay. It didn't happen that way.
I saw 4 Green Bay kids get on the elevator last night. I just looked at them. I said, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. The father was wearing a Bears shirt. I'm like, I'm sorry for you too. But I can't imagine how the Packers fans feel. Probably the way we did when Cundiff missed a kick, right? And Lee Evans. I mean, that whole week in Indianapolis, we were very...
Yeah, but I think the difference here was Green Bay controlled that
game
for 55
were in control,
minutes.
yes.
And it wasn't... it was very quick. Lee Evans can't hold on to the ball, and then Cundiff misses, whereas it was a series of events that, to me, started with the interception with 5 minutes to go. He slides down like there's 30 seconds left while there's 20 yards of open field. take the field position that you're entitled to.
I wonder how he's going to feel Sunday night at 6 o'clock watching the game.
That right there, I said this to him the other day. I was watching the game with my brother. I said, if they don't hold on here, we're going to be pointing back to that play. And sure enough, at the end of the game, my brother was like, good call.
I was looking at the first quarter when they got 4th and goal within the 1 yard line. So if you can't get 6 inches in the National Football League, you're not doing something right. And I was stunned that they didn't try to punch it in, and I knew eventually it would bite him, and it did, which was unfortunate for Mike McCarthy. I worked with the Saints years ago, but yeah, they were in control of that game. Right? I like him a lot. He's got a lot of good former Saints people on his staff that were good folks, but they were in control of that game for 55 minutes. The Ravens were in a dogfight for that entire game, in the same way with the game in New England a couple of weeks ago, where it could have been either side. I mean, Green Bay looked like the better team, and Seattle's sitting here and probably very fortunate to do so, and I think they think like they're carrying the lucky stick going into the game Sunday.
And it'll be interesting because one of the storylines kind of lost from that was, to me, Green Bay controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball for so much of that game. Then, of course, Seattle, they get beast mode going at the end. Right. And certainly it was different the final 5 minutes and in overtime. But will New England be able to do that in terms of having that advantage at the line of scrimmage in a similar way? Because most people would not have predicted that. So which Seattle team are you going to get? The one that went through the motions for 55 minutes in the NFC Championship, or the Russell Wilson and the Seahawks that woke up? Green Bay helped them out, but they certainly made plays when they needed to.
Well, we spent a whole week talking about how invincible Seattle looked, right?
Right.
I mean, and that's, I guess, when you play Carolina, that's how you look. And when you play at home, that's how you look. Seattle did a nice job of going to New York last year. They didn't need the 12th man in New York to beat Peyton Manning. And certainly from a game planning standpoint, Pete Carroll is, I think is this from the coaching, from the players, from where a young quarterback and a veteran quarterback, from the controversy side of this, all the way around, the Marshawn Lynch stuff, the Richard Sherman stuff, Sherman coming off the plane and starting to throw flares right away on Sunday night. It's going to be a pretty good week, I think, of chatter around this game. East Coast, West Coast, all of that going on.
Well, and Seattle's not scared of New England. I mean, this reminds me a lot of the Giants playing the Patriots, where Strahan walked in here and basically said, day one, we're going to hit Tom Brady in the mouth. Right. Called it straight away, and they never backed off of that the entire week.
Well, the Ravens are a little bit like that, right? I mean, and you see the difference between what the Ravens went up to New England and did and what the Colts did, and everyone said, well, the Colts are a little soft and they're intimidated and they haven't really won a big game ever in this incarnation, and they didn't really win many big games in Peyton Manning's incarnation going in there, which is what made Tom Brady what he is. But part of the Patriots gig, I think, is not being intimidated by them.
No, not at all. And I think it'll be. I think some of the storyline is going to be how much will Seattle, if at all, prepare for the eligible receiver? Or did Belichick basically do that to create some doubt where they have to prepare some for it? Maybe the Patriots don't do it at all on Sunday, but they've made Seattle expend a little bit of time thinking that they might be doing that. Sure. You may hint at some of that. I mean, there's two very good coaches. I don't think Pete Carroll gets enough credit for how good of a football coach he is. Everybody talks about how good Belichick is, and rightfully so. But I think Pete Carroll is a very good football coach, and he's a very good motivator of players. He did it in college at USC, and a lot of guys talk about the rah-rah stuff that doesn't carry. But Carroll relates to his players well. Those guys love playing for him, and you've got some characters on that team that are really hard to control in Lynch and Sherman and some of those. And he's managed to keep those guys together as a team and get them in a position to repeat. Never mind whether they win the game Sunday or not. They're sitting here with a chance at it, and most Super Bowl teams don't get the opportunity to turn around and get a chance to really, really defend. They will, and I think that's a great storyline. And like I said, maybe Seattle doesn't get enough credit because they're on the West Coast. We're so used to seeing the Patriots and East Coast teams. But I think this
and they wear Dayglow green. They look like highlighters.
but this really is a matchup of strengths, and that's what I like. These are two really good offenses on that, and I think it'll be a good game.
Chris Pika here. You'll be back again. I know you got a lot of things going on out here. Of course, one of our WNST insiders here. We are live at Super Bowl 49. Luke Jones with us. You can email Luke at WNST.net. I am nasty at WNST.net. We are in the Phoenix Convention Center, the Fan Gallery, the Radio Row here in downtown Phoenix. It is not snowing here. It is not cold and slushy here. It is in the 70s, but it is a little chilly in the convention center hall right now.
That's
so
right.
I don't want people back there feeling too good about how we're doing here. I don't have my flip flops on yet.
I don't think we're getting any sympathy now.
No sympathy.
Well, you are wearing a sweatshirt. I mean, you get maybe some sympathy.
You can follow along on Twitter and Facebook. We'll be putting pictures, videos, all of our good stuff up on our WNST YouTube channel.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.